Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're venturing into some, well, pretty mind-bending territory.
That's one way to put it.
Yeah, the idea of time itself becoming a weapon. You shared some really fascinating material exploring this from theoretical physics right through to potential applications.
It's quite the rabbit hole.
It really is. So our mission today is to unpack these complex ideas, see what the core insights are. We're looking at how concepts from Einstein, quantum mechanics, could maybe be twisted for, strategic advantage.
And the sources really ground this. We're talking general relativity, quantum entanglement, even things like retrocausality, quantum clocks.
Yeah.
It's a wide scope.
Definitely. And the hook here is powerful, isn't it? Forget traditional battlefields. What if the next war is fought by, altering time itself?
Imagine weapons that don't just destroy things, but change when they happen.
Or defenses that just make threats vanish from your timeline? Sounds like sci-fi, absolutely, but the roots are in actual science.
Yeah, the material kicks off by stressing how physics sees time, especially Einstein's general relativity. Time isn't just a constant ticking clock.
Right, it's a dimension woven together with space. Space-time.
Exactly, space-time. And it's not fixed. It can be warped, stretched, squeezed.
Okay, so space-time isn't just a cool word. The sources give actual examples, right? Real-world stuff.
Oh, definitely. Think about GPS satellites. We use them constantly. Their clocks tick slightly faster than ours down here on Earth. It's a combination of their speed and being in weaker gravity.
And that difference matters.
Hugely. If they didn't correct for it, GPS would be useless in hours. It's real-time dilation.
Wow, okay. And near black holes.
Even more extreme. Gravity there warps time dramatically. We've observed these effects. Time isn't immutable.
So time being flexible is already part of our tech and observations, but then the material brings in quantum mechanics. That's where it gets even weirder.
Yeah. Quantum mechanics throws a wrench into our everyday linear view of time. Think about quantum entanglement.
The spooky action at a distance thing.
That's the one. Two particles linked, instantaneously connected no matter how far apart. It challenges simple A causes B in time.
It's like hidden connections outside of normal time flow.
Sort of. It suggests time at the quantum level might not follow the rules we're used to. It hints at non-locality and maybe non-linear causality.
Okay, so taking these ideas, warped space-time, quantum weirdness, the core concept emerges. Temporal manipulation for military gain. Using these effects deliberately.
Exactly. Deliberately using the physics of time, whether subtle effects or, more extreme theoretical ones, for a strategic edge.
And it's not necessarily about time travel like in the movies, right? The sources mention we already use time strategically.
That's a crucial point. Time is already a weapon, in a sense. Cyber attacks often use delays, slowing down the enemy's information flow, messing with their decision cycle.
Right, disrupting their ODA loop, basically. And preemptive strikes based on AI predictions. That's about getting ahead in the timeline.
Absolutely. Yeah. Even simple things like spoofing data with fake timestamps, that's manipulating the perception of when something happened. It's low-level temporal tactics.
But the next leap could come from quantum tech. Quantum sensors giving a peek into the immediate future.
That's one of the really intriguing possibilities discussed. Even fractions of a second of foresight could be decisive. Imagine anticipating an enemy's move just before it happens.
Like a constant feedback loop based on near-future probabilities. And you mentioned retrocausality earlier, effect influencing past causes.
Yeah, it's a concept explored in quantum foundations. Some interpretations suggest that under specific quantum conditions, what happens now could influence what happened slightly before.
That just melts my brain a little.
It challenges everything we intuitively understand, but it's part of the theoretical landscape the material draws on.
Okay, so moving from theory to potential tech. The sources talk about specific quantum developments. Quantum clocks, for instance.
Right, and these aren't your grandfather's atomic clocks. We're talking potentially millions of times more accurate.
Incredible precision. What does that actually enable in a military context? Detecting tiny time warps.
Potentially, yes. That hyper-accuracy could revolutionize navigation in GPS-denied environments. It could enable incredibly sensitive surveillance, maybe detecting stealth aircraft or submarines by their minuscule gravitational influence, their time warp signature.
Wow. And for weapons?
Ultra-precise timing for coordinated strikes, electronic warfare.
Yeah.
Any scenario where fractions of a second count, this accuracy could be game-changing.
Okay, clocks are one thing. Then there are quantum delay lines. What are those?
This is more experimental. The idea is using quantum effects to essentially hold photons, particles of light, for a controllable period, and then release them with precise timing.
So like buffering light, how is that useful?
Well, imagine you could delay or manipulate radar signals,
Hmm.
communications, create temporal illusions, make things appear at slightly different times or places than they really are. Real-time deception at the speed of light.
Temporal illusions.
Okay.
And the most far out idea mentioned, closed time-like curves, CTCs, time loops.
Yeah, this is deep into theoretical physics, stemming from some solutions to Einstein's general relativity equations, like Gödel's rotating universe model. Highly speculative.
But people are thinking about it, even for computation.
David Deutsch, a physicist, explored the idea of quantum computation potentially using CTCs. The wild part is the suggestion that information from the future part of the loop could influence the computation in the past part of the loop.
So the calculation's result could affect its own input.
In theory, within that closed loop, yes. It completely messes with standard causality. Very, very theoretical, but it's part of the conversation around manipulating time.
Okay, let's bring this back down to earth slightly. Hypothetical scenarios. How might this stuff actually be used on a battlefield, even speculatively?
The material lays out a few possibilities. One is the idea of time-slow fields.
Right, I found this one really striking. Zones where time crawls.
Exactly. Imagine deploying something that creates a bubble where time passes, say, 1,000 times slower. An incoming missile enters it.
And it just seems to hang there, giving you ages to react.
That's the concept. A kind of temporal defense, making threats effectively freeze before they hit.
Fascinating. What else? Tactical time loops for commanders?
Yeah, imagine a technology that lets a commander replay the last, say, 10 seconds of combat over and over, instantly.
Like a live action replay button for tactics?
Pretty much. Analyze the enemy's move, tweak your response, run the simulation again in your head, all based on replaying the immediate past before committing to the real-time action.
That would be an incredible advantage. Then there's temporal sabotage.
This feels maybe more near-term, in a way. Hacking into an enemy's systems, not just to steal data, but to subtly mess with their timing.
How so?
Think about networked drones, integrated air defenses. They all rely on perfect time synchronization. Introduce tiny delays, make systems operate just fractions of a second out of sync with reality.
And things fall apart, drones collide, missiles miss, defenses fire too late. Chaos.
Exactly. Even minor desynchronization could cause catastrophic failures in complex systems.
It's crucial, though, as the sources stress. This is speculative. The tech isn't here yet, mostly. But it's rooted in physics we know.
Absolutely. It's about exploring the potential based on known principles. And that potential leads to some very serious ethical and existential questions.
Yeah, this is where it gets really heavy. The consequences seem vast. Temporal displacement of populations, shifting people in time.
It's almost unthinkable. Warfare usually displaces people in space. Displacing them in time is a whole other level of disruption. What would that even mean?
And the risk of breaking causality, creating paradoxes. If you start messing with time loops or retrocausality.
Could you unravel cause and effect itself? Create scenarios where logic breaks down, so Pandora's box?
The material talks about temporal sovereignty, the right to your own timeline.
Yeah, the idea that experiencing time flowing normally is a fundamental right. Temporal attacks could violate that in a profound way, stripping away your basic connection to reality's flow.
They compare it to the ethics of autonomous weapons, but say the stakes are higher.
Exponentially higher, you
Yeah.
could argue. Because you're not just automating decisions within time, you're manipulating the very medium of time. Who's responsible if a time loop causes endless suffering for someone trapped in it?
How do you even assign blame, then? And the most disturbing idea, history as a weapon, changing the past.
The ultimate form of warfare, perhaps. If you could alter past events to ensure your victory or even your enemy's non-existence. The implications are staggering. It questions the very nature of reality and truth.
Which brings us to the human cost, the perception side of things. Time perception is core to who we are, right? Memory, identity.
Absolutely fundamental. Our sense of self is built on a narrative that unfolds over time. What happens if that narrative gets warped?
As the neuroscience shows, altered time perception messes with decisions, agency.
Right. Studies on stress, trauma, drugs,
Yeah.
showtime can speed up, slow down subjectively. Now imagine that induced deliberately, extremely, on soldiers.
The material had that example. A soldier fights for one objective second, but experiences years.
What does that do to a human mind? The psychological damage.
Unimaginable.
Yeah.
It makes you think, would we need new rules, new ethics, temporal ethics officers?
It certainly seems plausible. If these technologies emerge, Our existing frameworks might be totally inadequate. We'd be in uncharted moral territory.
So wrapping this up, that final thought from the sources really sticks with you. If time itself can be weaponized, if our perception of it can be hacked,
And our own place in the timeline is potentially at risk.
what does that mean for reality? For conflict? Is winning a war worth risking? Well, everything, losing our grasp on time itself.
It's a profound question. Beyond tactics, beyond strategy, it touches on the very foundation of existence. A chilling prospect indeed.